And hello, welcome back everybody to BSG Online 6. I am Chair. I'll be your host for the next couple of runs. And right now we're gonna be seeing some wonderful Shadow of the Colossus 80% hard by tiktak. So take it away.
Yeah, welcome everyone. I'm very happy to do this run, even though it's in the middle of the night, and my voice is honestly not in the greatest of shapes. So without further ado, I'll let Ruby introduce themselves.
Hi, how's it going? My name is Ruby Hart, use they, she pronouns, and I'm going to be commentating this run for tiktak. So it's going to be starting as soon as tiktak hits the difficulty. So go ahead and count it down whenever you're ready, and I'll take it from there.
Yep, it's gonna start in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Okay, so for those of you who may be unfamiliar, first off, I have to give a quick bit of props to tiktak. So he is actually one of the best speedrunners in the world of this game. Not only is he currently the world record holder in 20% normal, but he was a long-standing world record holder of hard and is now in second place for that category, has worked on a lot of the optimizations for this game and does a lot of community work. So if you've never had the chance to play it, Shadow of the Colossus is personally my favorite game of all time. It focuses around this main character that tiktak is controlling named Wander, and essentially he comes to this place known as the Forbidden Land because he has a girl with him named Mono who has died. The only thing you really get to know about that is that she supposedly died of a cursed fate and she was sacrificed, and Wander wants to bring her back to life. Now, there's a deity here that says that they can bring her back to life, but it's going to cost Wander, and in order to do this ritual, he has to kill 16 colossi that live across the land. So, unlike other games where you would be facing a bunch of different grunts and having to do all sorts of other additional work, all of the puzzle solving is going to come from the actual Colossus fights themselves. So, we're going to be coming up on the first one here in a second. And also we have an incentive called Pet the Horse, where for every €5 donated, we're going to give pets to our good horse Agro. So make sure to get those in. So this Colossus Valus, basically what the designers would normally ask you to do is climb up the back using the architecture. But with those 2 stabs that tiktak just did to the leg, you can actually move during this cutscene and land directly on the head. That was a beautiful grab from tiktak, and now he's going to be able to take out the head sigil. Now, the thing that's really interesting about hard when you're playing this game is, unlike normal, where usually most of the colossi only have 1 or 2, maybe in some exceptions 3 sigils, a lot of the colossi in hard mode not only have additional sigils, but it takes far more stabs to do damage to them, and the colossi do more damage to you, so it's much easier for Wander to die. So this arm sigil that tiktak just jumped back to, he's going to be doing a method where essentially you quickly switch from the sword to your hand, because for some reason when you do that, it actually allows you to pull out the sword faster to get in extra stabs, and this is one of the sigils that's only available in hard mode. But just like that, before I can even finish the description of the Colossus, it's taken down. Amazing work, tiktak.
Yeah, thank you. That fight went really well. Usually Valus can give quite a few problems, especially on hard, because of the movement, because of the shakes, and stamina management can be an issue, but I'm glad it went smoothly.
Yeah, that's another really big thing to make a note of during this game is in hard mode, they don't give you any additional stamina to work with. So you have a lot more to do with a lot less stamina to work with. So stamina management in hard is one of the biggest things we have to look at. So really quickly, Killer Chair, like I said before, we are going to give pets to our good girl Agro. She is going to be doing so much work for us over the course of the next 15 fights. Do we have any pets that we get to give her?
Not yet, but I will mention along with that it is not a specific donation incentive to put money towards. It is just any time I notice €5 coming on in.
Yeah, so the way we're probably going to manage that is after a Colossus fight, we end up in that initial temple where we have the chance to just land right next to Agro before going to the next Colossus. So that's where we're going to be asking for those. So we'll be able to give Agro as many pets as you have euros for. So please keep those donations coming in and we'll be able to give her a ton of love throughout the course of this run. So the next Colossus that tiktak is headed towards is known as Quadratus, or we usually just nickname him Quad. Now, the way that the game would normally ask you to beat this is if you see that beach down on the lower right-hand side, normally you have to go all the way down this ramp, go down there, and there are weak spots on the bottom of his hooves that you would shoot so that he lowers an arm and you can climb up. But the really interesting thing about this game is there is a particular part of this cliffside that if you jump onto it, it actually activates the cutscene starting the fight early, and you can just land directly on the I call it the what's up danger jump after Spider-Verse. So he's gonna skip this cutscene, and just like that, he's landed directly on top of Quad. After this, there's something really interesting that we use, and you'll hear me use this term a lot during this run as well as tiktak, called plants. So if you notice, the place that he's grabbed onto, no matter how much Quad shakes and rallies, he's not going to be able to move tiktak from that particular placement because there are some sweet spots, essentially, that the Colossi have that for some reason, if you grab them, you can't be shaken. Now, that particular one that tiktak had grabbed onto on the head is actually one of the hardest to hit, so that's amazing work there. Now, this side sigil is one of the additional ones that's added on in hard mode. So he's going to take this out, and as soon as that's done, go straight to the butt to take out the final sigil. So good luck.
Yeah, what I'm doing here is a few quick regrabs, and due to the movement of Quad, that actually propels Wander forward just a little bit faster. And on the last sigil, what I'm going to try to do is so-called cycle stabbing, which allows me, after every stab, well, Wander doesn't really... Wow, okay. That's what I get.
Sorry,
for
that scared me. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's hard mode for you, and that was shaking for you. Never mind the cycle stabbing, I guess we can go into that on Kuro in more detail.
So, yeah, no problem. So basically, there are a few Colossi with those let go regrabs. There are some times where if you miss a plant, or if you're looking to quickly teleport up or to the side of a Colossus, some of them, if you let go and regrab really rapidly, will allow you to just kind of shimmy your way over on the Colossus. It looks really funny, and there are a few other places it'll probably come in handy. But with cycle stabs, which will come in play a few times, unlike with plants, where we want to make sure no matter what, the Colossus cannot shake tiktak, with cycle stabs, there are actually some placements where if you're on the ever so slightest incline, but you're not completely vertical or completely horizontal, if you just take a quick step and regrab, it lets you basically skip the animation of Wander pulling out the sword. So it saves just a few seconds of that stab time. Now, Killer Chair, do we have any pets that we can give our good girl?
Yes, we're going to give 2 pets because
Nice.
we have a 10 euro donation coming in by Usurpering saying, "You two are going to kill this run in a good way. Love from Team Ico Speedruns."
Thanks, Susu.
Thank you, Yusu. Usurpering is a wonderful member of the Team Eco fam and is a speedrunner of The Last Guardian. So thank you so much for that donation, Yusu. We love you. Okay, so the next fight we're headed towards is one of the most iconic in the game. Even if you've never had the chance to play Shadow before, which again, really cannot recommend it enough, you need to play this game if you haven't. It's available for PS2, PS3, PS4, and I'll go more into that later. But this particular Colossus, even if you've never played it, you've probably at least seen it in some kind of fan art or poster art, because it's the Colossus that's actually on the main cover art for the game and is one of the most iconic fights, especially with the speedrun strap. So the fight that we're going towards is for a Colossus named Gaius, who is this big towering warrior. Now, he has a sword that's essentially strapped to his arm. It's completely affixed to it. And normally you can't climb up the Colossus unless you break his armor, which is really brittle. So you have to essentially use a stone plate that's in the middle of the arena, but we're speedrunners. That takes way too much time, so we're not going to do that. So instead, what's going to happen is basically we have a strat that we call the Space Jam or the Gaius launch, just depending on who you ask, that allows you to go from the very bottom of the arena to the top. I won't explain exactly how, because I think that's part of the fun, is leaving the suspense, but it's a really cool trick, and I can't wait to see TikTak do this.
Yeah, I hope I can do it first try. It's a...
you got this.
The little difficulty about any percent though is due to the fact that you can't reset it to like in the individual level fights that you can do in New Game Plus. Sometimes it's a little hard to show all the tricks, and especially with how precise they are, it can totally happen that if I mess one up I will have to use backups. Though in any case it will be a cool thing to show off. So yeah, and I think I'm gonna go for the low risky side jump here just to make it a little more interesting.
Yeah, I will say that's one thing I find really fascinating about this run is it is so timing and input and skill specific. It doesn't lean as much on glitches rather than using full on exact inputs and timing of the fight by the player. So optimizing not only the actual strats themselves, but also the backups and backups to the backups, and just learning all the ways that a fight could go right and wrong is so important. So what he's doing here, if you notice, he's shooting just kind of the middle of Gaius's belly. That's because there's actually a sigil here that you just can't see because he doesn't have the sword out. But once he's done that, he does a little bit of damage to it, and then I'm gonna let this speak for itself. There it is, everybody get up, it's time to slam now. So that's what we call the Space Jam. So it's a trick where basically you go from the bottom of the sword, and using the physics in the game to your advantage, you can launch Wander from the bottom of the sword all the way to the top of the head. Now, in this placement, by waiting for that animation cycle of Gaius's head to shake and then lean backwards, he's able to land a plant here and has to perfectly exact 5 stabs right in a row as quickly as possible. Now, this is another one of the Colossi that's also going to have an extra sigil. So as soon as he's done with the head here, he's going to want to hang out just on one of the shoulders so that he can get a particular animation. So this one of the arm just going up into the side to play. That way he can get in 2.5 stabs on this arm sigil. And as soon as that's done, and this one's really tricky because Gaius, when he's walking, moves and shakes around a lot. But as soon as he's done with this, which, already taken out, he can just drop down directly to the side and then get the final sigil, which is on the belly. And since he got in those arrow shots earlier, that actually saves him an extra stab that he would have normally had to do. So getting in those early arrows just does a ton of extra time save. Sometimes he can wiggle a little bit, just depending on where Gaius decides to move. So there is a little bit of RNG to this particular part. But with these final stabs, Gaius is dead. Well done.
Yeah, there was a slight little difficulty on the arm because Wander shook a little, so I couldn't get the stabs in as perfectly as I usually would want to, so this was a slightly slower animation. But the cool thing that I was able to do due to that is, since Wander was shaking around a little, I was able to actually slash the final stab of the fight, which makes it transition to the cutscene instantly and makes this fight just a little tad faster.
Yeah, jump stabs and sexy stabs aren't something we've gotten into.
Yep.
So something really interesting is for the final stab of a Colossus, if you just do a normal stab, then it basically makes, because they want it to be a big cinematic and climactic moment after you've solved these puzzles, right? So it basically sends you into slow motion as the sword is going in for the final hit. The problem with that, though, is it does use a few seconds of in-game time, which is what we use for the speedrun chart. But by doing a sexy slash, which is that little tap that TikTak was able to do there, or by doing a jump stab, it takes you directly into the cutscene. Now, do we have any pets before we move on?
Yes, we actually have 5 pets.
Nice.
From 3 different donators. We got Kasenchu with 5 saying, "Pet aggro, please." We got Pauladino with 10 saying, "Give the pets." And we got another 10 from Safety Man saying, it's dangerous to go alone, take 10 euros. And that's all gonna go to a fantastic charity, so thank you all very much.
Yeah, and I was able to show off the pet strats with the pet stop that we can do, since Wander can actually pet the horse while on the horse as well, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, but also on the flip side, there's something that I probably should have warned you all about earlier. So just a heads up, the pet button in this game just so happens to also be the stab or slash button to take out the weapon. So at some point in this run, I hope it doesn't happen, but it happened when he ran this at GDQ and people got very panicked about it. If for some reason he goes to pet the horse, but he's a little too far away, he may accidentally pull out his sword and slash aggro, but I promise you, she is made of steel and will be fine. All right, so coming up on this next fight, this beautiful arena is the home to Baydra, or Phaedra, I'm sorry. Baydra is our affectionate nickname for her. So this is a horse, dragon, llama, giraffe, I've heard it all. But this Colossus, the way you would normally beat her is by tricking her into looking down and lowering her butt. But what you can do instead is actually launch yourself with a jump directly off of aggro onto this back leg like Tic-Tac just executed beautifully. Then basically by using the architecture and the ledges that are built naturally into the Colossus, he can just jump directly up to that butt ladder rather than having to use those extra 2 or 3 minutes to get her to lower. Now, this one's really interesting because rather than having a single additional sigil, Phaedra has 2, and they're both on shoulders that regularly shake when she jumps up like she just did. So Tic-Tac's gonna have to do, I believe it's 2.5 stabs to each of these. And before that, if you notice that he quickly did just a tap to that weak spot on the neck, when you do 2 of those, that causes Phaedra's neck to lower so that you can get the final sigil, which on normal and easy is usually the only sigil that's on the head. So basically by doing that extra little stab before going for one of the shoulder sigils, that saves him a little bit of time in this next transition that he's about to hit here. Right? So as soon as he gets in this final stab, you'll notice that she's now going to bow and lower her head. And this plant is actually much easier to hit. So once he lands here, now he should just be able to stab Phaedra all the way home. So this game, I know we had talked about it just a little bit earlier, was originally released for the PS2. It did get an HD remake, HD remake on the PS3, and then had a full ground-up creation on the PS4 that you can also play on PS5. Just like that, Phaedra's dead. Extremely well done, Tic-Tac.
Thanks. The run is going very smoothly so far. I'm very happy.
I'm gonna knock on wood just in case, but yes, it's going beautifully. So yes, if you have pretty much any PlayStation system outside of the PS1, you will have some way to play this game. So I really can't encourage it enough. All right, and let's see. Do we have any more pets that we can give our good girl in this next transition?
Currently not, but what we can mention, for those who had missed it, that for every 5 euros donated, we will pet the horse. That's very simple as that. You don't need to put it to any specific thing. As long as I see 5 coming on in, there's 1 pet.
And she works really hard for all of us who speedrun this game, so please, please give her the pets that she deserves. It's the way that we pay her for all of her good work. All right, and next Colossus. This one is another really iconic fight in this game, as it's one of the only 2 flying Colossi. So her name is Avion. So this particular Colossus has 3 different sigils, and that's on any mode that you play it on, easy, normal, or hard mode. It really only just varies with the amount of stabs you have to do. With hard mode in particular, that's what makes it so much more challenging. So normally the way that we would beat this fight is by taking out one of the wing sigils And then as soon as you stab it, there's a strat that we can use called the wing drop, where basically we can go from one wing all the way down to the opposite side by just letting go when she turns fully vertical with her wings. The problem is, on hard mode, you actually have to do 2 stabs to each of the wings, which makes it much more difficult to pull off that particular strat. So rather than waiting for what we call an upwing, which is basically just a bit of RNG that determines if her wing, when you first land on her, is going to swing upward or downward. Normally on normal, when we want to use that wing drop strat, we are hoping for the upwing. But for the sake of the timing, since so much of this fight has to do with the stamina management, we actually want to hope and pray and cross our fingers for a downwing, since that's what makes this fight much easier to manage as far as the stamina. Now, it is still possible to speedrun this fight, like very, very possible with the upwing. It just makes it more difficult since the timing on the stamina is going to be a lot tighter. So you'll see that he switches directly to the bow. And by the way, if you ever notice him like weapon switching and whistling and jumping, the reason we do that is the fastest way to travel in this game is by jumping. But there's an awkward stumble animation that Wander sometimes does. So by quickly whistling or switching weapons, we can actually cancel that. So it's just a faster way to move around when we're not on aggro. So what TikTak's gonna do is land on this first platform, and as soon as he gets there, he's going to launch an arrow at Avion to get her attention. Now, we're gonna set up in this middle platform, and as soon as Avion swings downward, TikTak's gonna be able to jump up and grab directly onto that wing. And kind of like with Quad, what you saw before of that quick let go re-grab, he does that just to get himself right onto the top of the wing. Now, let's see how the RNG behaves. Yep, so it looks like we got a downwing, so you're going to see that he gets a quick stab in there, and as soon as his feet land back on Avion, Wander's going to be able to do another stab. And now, with this slight tilt in the wing, he's going to be able to kind of walk over to the side and try and go for that left wing before he goes finally for the tail.
Yeah, and it's also a big advantage stamina-wise. If the wing went up instead of down, I would have had to drop down instead of walk, which would mean I would have a lot less stamina. And stamina is a very crucial factor in this fight. In that context, I always like to mention the ILs, because here we're doing mostly safe strats for not only marathon safety, but in general just to be able to finish a run quickly but consistently. But if you want to watch some of the individual level runs, we have a leaderboard for that. All of them are extremely amazing, and specifically Stormglad's hard mode Avion world record is insane with how he actually still does not only a very cool strat at the start, but the wing drop, and then manages to get all the stabs in while dropping back with literally 0 stamina left. It's very impressive to see the optimization that goes into it.
Yeah, so, if you watch the ILs, it almost looks like you're watching a TAS. It seems that outside of the breadth of human capability, but the IL runners for this game are just off the charts talented, so definitely take a look if you ever get the chance.
Alright, just swimming towards the tentacles to be a slight bit faster in the next cutscene.
Ah, yes, the death spaghetti. Gotta love it. But that was a beautiful Avion fight. Well done.
Yep. Avion is always a very, very stressful one in marathons, since it's so easy to fall down while going fast. So... You
looked so zen that entire time. Like, I know you say that you're stressed, but sometimes I don't believe you because you looked so calm.
I've definitely gotten better about the handling of the stress, but yeah. Once the wing went down, I got a little more relaxed, I have to agree.
Got it. Hey, Casey, do we have any more pets for our girl?
Well, currently, none. So the horse will yet again have to go without pets for a bit.
I'm sad, Ruby. But we move forward.
Yeah.
That's what we have to do.
Barbara, right?
All right. Yeah.
Just €5 for a pet, by the way, everyone.
Oh, yes. Okay, so if you want to do a pet maybe in the woods, then that might be a good time for it. So we are headed first towards the 17th Colossus and then the 6th. So the forest that we have to go through a few times in this game to get to the Colossi in the desert, we affectionately call the 17th Colossus, just because even some of the top speedrunners of this game, we even sometimes get lost in the woods here. Especially on older versions of this game, it used to be so dark that it was really, really hard to manage. The nice thing about the PS4 version is they did make it a lot easier to see where you're going. So once you memorize the track, it's pretty simple to get through. But the flip side, the kind of take back here, is on the PS2 and PS3 versions, you can just keep running through the woods, but if you notice, in the PS4 version, sometimes aggro kind of slows down and you have to re-kick back in order to get her moving at top speed. And that's because there are some points where Blue Point was like, no, the woods are pretty. We want people to admire them. And as speedrunners, we hate it. So we have to keep making her kick back as much as possible.
Yeah, and it's especially awkward whenever aggro is on a patch of grass. Even if it's like a millimeter or so, she gets startled like crazy and doesn't do.
She's so afraid of grass.
It doesn't do a quick start and actually loses like 5 seconds. It's absolutely insane how like even the movement optimization here can be trouble. And I can go into the next Colossus fight. It'll be Barba. It's a Colossus with a big beard, and they're the usual speedrun, not the speedrun. Excuse me, the casual strat would be to run all the way back to a few little, arches, and you can hide under a low balcony, and that would make Barba look down while searching for you, and then you could climb his beard. I will instead use a few physics manipulations and a little bit of a pixel walk at the start. Since this Colossus has a sigil on the hand on hard mode, it's a little awkward to run, but I found a way to make it a little more consistent by doing a very precise jump, which allows me to actually do the hand sigil first. And after that, hopefully I will be able to show off a launch you can do right off of that directly to the head, which is another very cool strat, which is exclusive in the way I want to do it on hard mode. If it doesn't work, I can still do the backup strat that we would use in the normal mode. So,
oh, that was a beautiful hand grab.
Yeah, this hand grab, when I first found it, it was extremely difficult to do. It's very, very precise because Wander usually just glitches out. There's like only a very specific angle that works there. And now, let's see if I can make this work. Nope. Okay, this is fine, usually, unless I get killed again like in practice today. Yeah, so I didn't manage to get the hard mode launch, so what I will try to do... Wow. Wow. Okay, Barba, interesting. Very interesting. Ruby, just take over. Barba is misbehaving.
Yeah, I can see that. So he did a really good job with the hand, but Barba decided to give us a little bit of memes here. But there we go. That's a great recovery. So basically what he did here is the next thing that you want to do to transition in this fight is basically by landing in the hand and then using when Barba kind of lifts the arm up to look at you. You can run up that incline and use, kind of like with the Space Jam, you use the physics of the game to your advantage. And there are several points in the game where that happens. So now he was able to use that to get onto the head and take out that head sigil. So the final bit here is going to be him grabbing onto this back sigil, and a lot of this has to do with timing. Just as far as Barba's RNG can be a little weird here, considering if he walks too far forward, there's a cutscene that shows that barrier breaking. On top of that, sometimes he'll decide he wants to shake ways, and sometimes he decides, no, I'm just going to hang out here and kind of mosey for a bit. But it looks like he got a sexy slash there as the final hit, and it took us right into that final cutscene. Well done on that recovery.
Yeah, it was actually kind of interesting. Due to the way Barba was standing near the stairs, I was actually able to get farther up the hand than usual in an easier way, so that made that transition a little quicker. But yeah, usually the transition should be direct from the left hand, but that one is a little inconsistent. It was actually a quite funny moment at GDQ where I almost got it, but then fell right down and then Barba stepped on me and killed me instantly. So that was also one for the highlight reels.
Yeah, and I will say, I think that's honestly a really great showcase of kind of what we were talking about before. No matter how good you are at this game, sometimes the Colossi just like to do something ever so slightly off, or the inputs are so precise that it's hard to get everything it absolutely exact. So you have to be, for any percent runs, really good at not only the main strats of this game, but every single possible backup and understanding the animations that the Colossus could throw at you. So that was just a really great showcase of how well you know this game. So I still think really well done. And I didn't ask it in the temple because I was in the middle of the conversation, but hey, Killer Chair, do we have any pets?
Well, one, because I decided that it was time for a pet and dropped the donation myself.
Nice.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you.
Also, in a little bit of time when we have a moment, it would be useful for us to quickly change voice channels, as we're still in the wrong one right now.
Oh,
We'll have to
yeah, sure thing.
Oh, well, I mean, this is a longer travel time, so I think we have a moment now if you're good with that, TikTok.
Yeah, feel free to move
Yeah,
us.
let's do it. Transition. There we go.
Yeah, just gonna do this. I hope it works. Alright. So, now that everything is back to...
Okay, perfect. I hope you enjoyed elevator music with Ruby. But we are now headed towards the 7th Colossus, Hydrus. So really quick heads up, I know some people have triggers or fears surrounding very, very big, scary, deep sea creatures in unknown depth bodies of water. If that is a phobia you have, I would highly recommend this being your 2 or 3 minute bio break. Go get a glass of water or take a bathroom break or something like that, because this Colossus is not going to be for you. But for the others who want to stick around for it, it's a really incredible fight, and personally one of my favorites design-wise, even though it is really, really tough in execution. So it's a really cool speed run. The way that this fight goes, TikTok, do you want to go into it? Would you like me to go into it? Totally.
I can cover it. So this is basically the toughest trick in the any percent run, because of how precise it is. And specifically in hard mode, I almost have to do it because the backup is even more awkward. So the way the Colossus works is that he at first is underwater, and then slowly gets up, and then usually in the normal playthrough you would grab the tail and move up the body slowly but surely until you're at the head. And the issue specifically on hard mode is that the spikes, or electric spikes on the back of the Colossus, deal a ton of damage. They basically 2 or 3 shot. So in that case I would have to kill the spikes, which would cause a timer to happen, and it's a very tough timer that sometimes doesn't even allow for a 1 cycle. So that would be only the very last thing I would try to do. So instead, we will do a speedrun trick that works by doing a jump step in the water in a very specific position at a very specific timing. If you did everything correctly and are a bit lucky, Hydrus will move up the water in a very specific manner, where you can actually climb up directly to the head. And it makes the fight a lot faster, but specifically in any percent it's also very, very tough to do because of how many variables there are. So now that the fight is starting, Ruby, you can go into more detail, I guess, while I try to line this up.
Sorry, I didn't realize I was muted. Absolutely. So basically what's going to happen is as soon as Hydrus's eye passes the back pillar in the background, he's going to be counting out his swim cycles in order to determine exactly where he needs to be in the water. It's that specific that we literally have to count it in our heads. As soon as that happens, if you notice that Hydrus's eye turned orange, kind of like with the other Colossi, that lets us know that we've gotten their attention. So he's going to line this up, and then by executing a few jump stabs and jumps in the water, he's able to get Hydrus to cock his head exactly where he needs it to be. And then by running forward and doing these jump stabs in the water, usually we would just jump stab it all the way home. But on hard mode, since Hydrus does so much more damage to you, we really don't want to lose all that HP. So eventually we're going to take out that node so it doesn't electrocute. And just like that, with the final jump stab, Hydrus is down! Yeah! There it is!
Pretty much perfectly. If I could get this, something like that, every time in my runs, I would have gotten back the record already. This is so tough, it kills so many runs, so...
No,
Now I can be a lot more relaxed.
I mean, this is beautiful so far. Like, outside of the quick Barba meme, like, everything has been really flawless. Like, well done.
Like, if I keep going like that and manage to get a very good Pelagia fight, I think even with the pets I have a chance at record so far. This is definitely record pace.
Yeah, we're gonna knock on wood, and I'm gonna do, basically, now I'm gonna make sure that all of the aggro pets, we get right in that transition in the temple to try and save as much time as possible, because this is looking really, really good.
Yep.
So speaking of which, hey, Killer Chair, do we have any pets for our girl?
Just as you said it, a 10 euro donation came in.
Yes, so 2 pets.
Nice.
No comment, but still, thank you very much, Airy.
Thank you so much, Ari. All right, so get those pets, and then we're headed to probably... So in normal and easy, this next fight is considered one of the easiest in the speedrun. Hard is a different story. So the next Colossus that we're going to be headed towards is Kuramori, or... I have nicknames for them all. I call him my salamander boy, but call him whatever you want. So with Kuramori, the way that this fight works, first off, it's just the way to get to this fight is absolutely gorgeous. There's going to be a pond and a waterfall and all sorts of stuff that we get to pass. So just take in the scenic view as we're headed there. But the particular fight, the way that the arena is set up, is you're really supposed to use the environment to your advantage. This is one of the Colossi where that's actually really, really important, since he is in essentially a Colosseum. So what we're going to do is basically get the Colossi's attention, pull out the bow, shoot him by taking his legs out from underneath him, since much like with several of the other Colossi who have had weak spots that we have to hit in order to get to the actual sigils that do damage to the Colossus, with this one it's no different. We have to take out 2 of those legs in order to get him to fall off the wall. Now, what's the thing that makes hard mode particularly tricky is there are some Colossi that we need to do what we call a 1 cycle. And that basically means that the way that the designers meant for you to beat the Colossus is by doing it in 2 rounds. So you do some damage to it, it eventually gets up, and you have to reset and do that same series of movements and animations again in order to finally kill it. But with the speedrun, several of these Colossi, in order to save that time, are really dependent on you only having to do everything once rather than twice. So you're going to hear me use the term 1 cycle a lot as we move forward in this run. So the thing that makes it really tricky is there's a lot more damage to do to Kuramori, and TikTak's pretty much going to have to pull off perfect one after the other cycle stabs. He might be able to get a single meme stab or a single miss on one, but if he misses any more than that, then the Colossus is probably going to get up again and shoot him. So it's going to be really specific timing. It's a really exciting fight. So, and I really love this fight. If you've ever played the game casually, I know I used to be terrified of it, and now I just think this is one of the coolest ones to come across. So, TikTak, I'll let you actually talk through the fight as you're doing it, now that I've kind of given some context, since this is one of those fights of, if you don't know what's happening during, or if you blink, you will miss it.
Yeah, and I also just did a very, very nice airwalk right up the pillar. That was very interesting.
That was great.
I've never done something like that before, but good optimization. So as I start the fight, I whistle to get the Colossus' attention. I switch to the bow and get right back to the little view we have on Kuro. Now, the higher the Colossus is up the wall, the stronger the fall, the more time I have. So while on normal I would shoot the arrows earlier, on hard I want to make sure I have the most time for safety reasons. Now I jump back down early to be able to get up the Colossus right away, like that. And now I will do the cycle steps that Ruby explained earlier, 6 in a row, hopefully. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That went smoothly, as good as it gets.
Beautifully, beautifully.
And now I can only hope there will be no meme stat, because on the 60 frames per second that the PS5 shows this game, it happens a little more often than on the 30 I used to play on. But this looks pretty much as smooth as it gets. I might even be able to do a jump step because I was so quick. Yep, perfect.
That was beautifully done, TikTok. That was fantastic. And one thing actually, really quick, I don't know about you, TikTok. I think it might be time for us to impart some quick speedrun knowledge for the audience. So there's one thing that I can actually teach you just right now here. So fun fact, if you play this game, rather than just tapping the stab button, waiting for it to hit the outside edge of the stamina meter, and then tapping it again, if you hold the button to stab and then like hit it again right at the end, that actually makes you pull up and charge the stab just a little bit faster.
Yep.
So something I didn't know before I started speedrunning. And Killer Chair, how many pets do we have?
0, sadly.
Oh no. All right, well hopefully next time.
Just a €5 donation will give us pets for the horse.
And we want to give her a bunch of those. There is a particular point, and I will let you know well before it's coming up, where we will no longer be able to give pets to our horse, just because the game takes that ability away from us. But it's not for a very long time. I will let you know when it's coming up. But for now, we are headed towards the 9th Colossus. And TikTok, I'm going to let you explain this one because I'm sorry, this is my arch nemesis. And anytime I try and explain it, I just get salty.
Sure thing. Speedrun is the big turtle with the laser guns. And one of the colossi that is very frustrating in the speedrun as well is in the casual playthrough, from what I've heard people say. The usual way to fight Colossus would be by luring the Colossus out. There is a bunch of geysers all around the arena, and if you make the Colossus stand above a geyser, that will make the Colossus stumble a little. You can shoot Speedrun's legs and then climb up the side to eventually be on his head. That's a very long and painful process. If any of you ever played through a game casually or ran the intended percent speedrun, it's literally the worst. So instead we have a strategy that uses physics to the most extreme, in the most extreme way. It's pretty much on par with Gaius, so I won't spoil much about it, and hopefully I will get it. But it's one of the more precise tricks, and one that is fairly... at first, when you learn the strat, it seems kind of unintuitive. It takes a while to get used to, and especially in any percent, there is a very specific lineup I have to do on top of that. So let's hope that will work out. I will jump onto the leg, move up a little, jump up. Oh, I messed it up. Wow. Okay.
No.
It's all good though, because you can explain what the backup strat here is.
Alright, so there is a beautiful thing that we call tactical yeets. This is what a tactical yeet is. There are some colossi that are hard to hit the strat the first time, and conveniently, there are cliffs nearby. So what we do to reset and make sure we're in the right position is yeet ourselves off the cliff. And then that resets the fight and kills us in the fastest way possible.
Yep.
And there you go. If you ever are looking to speedrun this game and need a way to reset a fight just a little bit faster, look for a cliff.
Yeah. Oh god. This lineup might be a little off. I'll try my best. Okay, I got it.
There
Safe.
it is. Nice, nice, nice. Beautiful. Oh, and the jump stab? Okay, now you're just going for style points. So what he was able to do there is by being at the crest of the pulling up of the legs as Speedrun is pulling them up during that jump, you can side jump, and for some reason, sometimes when you do a side jump in this game, much like with this Colossus, and you'll see it a few times later as well, it just launches you in a weird direction. So he's able to get onto the head, and now that the health meter is actually past the halfway point, he's gonna be able to just stab this Colossus all the way home, and it looks like he's got a plant here that's really solid, so he shouldn't even be shaken out of this position. He's just gonna be able to get in stab after stab until the boss run is taken down.
Yep, there it is. At least the second try was very solid.
Yeah, absolutely. Well done there.
Thanks. One thing about the any percent strats as opposed to when you would do a boss rush with the time attack mode is that the positioning and the timing of any percent varies on where you get into the fight, the starting point, which is why the first tries, like on Bastion for example, are sometimes a little more challenging to do. So yeah, that's why I messed up a little there, but it should be good from here.
So I see some people talking about lore and asking. So first I want to ask, hey, Killer Chair, do we have any pets for our good girl?
Once more, no pets.
And now I want to ask, hey, Tic Tac, do you want to go into if we're the good guy or should I?
That's almost like a philosophical discussion you would have at the uni.
No, it really is. So one of the things I will say is one of the beauties of this series, not just Shadow of the Colossus, but also the other games in the series, so The Last Guardian and Eco, is Fumito Ueda, the designer and really the mastermind behind this series, wanted to make sure that the audience was an active player in the storytelling. So while there is an initial cutscene that sets up the basic premise, and there were one or two cutscenes kind of in between that fill in just teeniest bit, most of it's left pretty loose and is up to the implicit storytelling. So the way that the architecture is designed, the way that the land looks, the things that you find along the way. So a lot of it is done without really talking or giving you anything at all. It only gives you a single loaf of bread and then says, go forth and see if you can find all the seasoning for it. So while Fumito Ueda has confirmed some of his ideas when he created the game, he also very much encourages other people's theories, because that's the whole point, is that people can come up with their own lore. But it's pretty widely accepted that Wander isn't necessarily a hero here. He may be a protagonist, and we're following his story about how he's trying to bring Mono back to life. But in a lot of people's theories, they very much, kind of like what the chat was discussing, see the creatures as being innocent. But like what Tic Tac said, there really could be a whole philosophy class trying to analyze these games, what things could mean. And I've heard so many incredible theories and different worldviews about what it could mean. I know I have my own, but I definitely would encourage people, if you're interested, to take a look at some of the forums that exist, or some of the books that have been written, some of the essays that have been published, specifically surrounding this series and the lore and possibilities. There's a lot out there to chew on, so I really can't encourage it enough.
Yep. Couldn't have said it better. It's truly a work of art, and sometimes for some people difficult to grasp because it's so different. But the more you play the game, the more you can really appreciate the nuances and the symbolism in many of the cutscenes and many theories that go with it.
Mm-hmm. And do you want to explain this Colossus fight? I know this is one that you have a lot of expertise with.
Yeah, well, it's Dirge, the sand snake.
Yeah.
The fight actually goes in a similar way to the intended run. The snake starts following you through the sand in a very, very aggressive manner, and you basically run for your life on aggro while trying to shoot its eye. If you hit Dirge's eye, you're able to make Dirge run against a wall and stun, and that's when you can actually deal the damage. And what is actually different compared to the intended run is that with a very precise amount of stabs, you can actually make this one cycle by not killing the first sigil, since if you look closely while I hopefully land this arrow, yep, I dealt a little damage, a pixel you could almost say. That's the leeway we have, because that's the extra damage I just dealt that I have to understep the first sigil by. You can only guess how close the timing here is. It's 4.8 stabs basically, and if I understab, I don't kill the Colossus. If I overstab, it becomes a 2 cycle. So, quite challenging in its own right. Okay, that was the first sigil. I hope I did that right. And now I'll get to a second sigil with a plant. No, not a plant, a cycle stab, which is actually even better.
God, every time that I wait to see if it was actually a 1 cycle, my heart is racing right now.
Yeah, same. So, perfect.
Beautiful, beautiful, nicely done.
Yeah, the 1 cycle is a bit easier on hard mode, as silly as that sounds, because the Colossus has more health, so the leeway is a tiny bit more than on normal or easy. So, as counterintuitive as it is, this fight is the hardest one on easy, and the one that is the most precise, because Dirge on easy has a lot less health.
And next we are headed towards Celosia, who, by the way, fun fact, just a little personal thing about me, I live with a few of my best friends, and they recently adopted a dog and asked me to name it. So we actually have a dog named Celosia in the house named after this Colossus. And Killer Chair, do we have any pets for our girl?
Yes, we have a pet. A single pet, because we got a €5 donation.
There's the scratch.
We got a €5 donation from Changlini saying, I couldn't sit by and watch the horse not get pets. Here's one for the road.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And as we warned you earlier, might happen. We just gave her a little scratch there with love, with a sword. But Celosia is one of my 2 favorite fights. I'm going to explain this one, and then I'll let TikTak explain the other one that is actually the favorite Colossus that we both share, which is coming up later. But this particular fight is what I call one of the small boys. There are 2 Colossi in this game that, unlike a lot of the others you've seen, who are absolutely monumental in size. They move slowly. They move with intention and purpose. These are much smaller, maybe 3 or 4 times Wander's size rather than 30 or 40 times. But they move extremely quickly. They are extremely aggressive. They are defensive and territorial. And if they hit you even once, it will stun lock you. And they go quickly, so they will just re-stun lock you over and over and over again unless you happen to get in a perfect roll to get out of the way. But the really great thing about this Colossus is the way you beat him is adorable, because he's afraid of fire. He's just a little scare boy. So the way that we actually beat this Colossus is when we get to the arena, you'll see several different pillars that are aflame. So basically, I'll let TikTak get into it once he actually gets to the fight. But by using a torch that's lit, you can actually scare Celosia off of a cliffside using a specific strat in order to get her armor to break off of her back and actually mount the Colossus. But I'll let TikTak get into that once he's actually at the fight.
Yep, and for that there's a cool little trick you can do to get to the fight just a tad faster. Usually you would have to go around the cliffside there, but if you jump just in the right way, which I will attempt to do now, you can land in a very specific spot which allows you to be in the fight immediately. There we go. And here we are at Celosia's arena. As you see the torches up there, you will get a torch and light it. And while trying to evade the Colossus' brutal anger. So here we wait it out and jump off right before Celosia hits the pillar, so we have a little bit more leeway which is another technique we do to make this fight just a little tad easier, because the Colossus is just so fast. Now I will light the torch and run directly to the very end of the arena, drop the torch, pick the torch back up, and here, what happened? The torch was lit, the Colossus is afraid of the torch, and I picked it up right at the edge, so technically that counts. Usually you would lure the Colossus slowly but surely to the end of the arena, but this is the more efficient way to technically still do it, basically. And now with a couple of jump stabs I will finish that fight.
That was beautifully done. Really nice. And that second tier that TikTak landed on is actually exactly where we want to end up during that fight, because that allows you to drop the torch and immediately go down and get a jump stab. If you actually land on the same tier as Celosia, it's a little bit slower because you have to not only take a few steps away from the Colossus in order to basically make sure that the RNG of the Colossus says, oh, you're not ready to fight me yet. I'm going to stay here for a second and just lay on the ground, take a nap. If you just try and jump immediately onto the Colossus from that lower tier, then he'll actually immediately stand up. There's just all sorts of little nuances to that fight that are fascinating. Hey, Killer Chair, do we have any more pets? Oh gosh, I don't know.
Once more, no pets.
Oh, sad
Alright.
time.
Yeah,
Oh,
because
man.
the next Colossus is the evil of this world combined in one thing. I personally think it's worse than Dorman itself and was made to torture the runners and players.
You know, I would second that.
Yeah, and actually, Killer Chair, we have a lot of time here until we're there, so if you wanna say anything about the donations and the charity itself, that would be a great time.
Absolutely. Well, for those unaware, we are the Benelux Speedrunner Gathering. We organize bi-monthly gatherings in the Benelux for speedrunners, and due to the situation surrounding COVID-19, we're doing our events online for the time being. This event features streamers from both the Benelux and the rest of the world, bringing you all this good stuff you're seeing right now. And of course, all of these donations, including the ones you do for the horse pets, are all going to a wonderful charity known as Mind, which do a lot of good mental health stuff, you know?
And I will say, just speaking on a personal note for a moment, as someone who deals every day with battles with mental illness, organizations like this that not only do advocacy work and work to make sure that they're getting people information, but they're also supporting people in the neurodivergent and the mentally disabled community, as well as the community suffering from mental illnesses. It's really important to me as a human to see organizations like that. So please, if you have anything to spare, it's a really incredible cause that they're raising funds for. So every euro really counts.
Could not have said it better myself.
Well said indeed. So now that we're getting closer to Colossus, which is Pelagia, this is one of the Colossus that is the single reason why this category sometimes brings me onto like pure rage. Because this is basically the only fight that really has meaningful RNG in it, on hard mode specifically, as opposed to normal mode where you can actually consistently kill the Colossus in one cycle. Here it's not possible because of the amount of health. So the way the fight works is Pelagia is a big monster that attacks you with lasers, as they do so often. And by getting its attention, getting onto its back, you're able to navigate the Colossus, because the big difference to our Colossi is that the sigil is hidden at first, and not on the head directly. And by hitting teeth on the top of the Colossus head, you're able to navigate the Colossus to the gazebos that you can see in the background here. and from there you can aggro a Colossus to get on top of these gazebos, and that's when the sigil is revealed. And like I said, due to the amount of the health that the Colossus has, you have to do it in 2 cycles, and I have to focus here just a little bit, but I will get into the RNG bit when I get to it. So first I'll try to get a specific animation with 2 arrows, jump onto the head like that, which is perfect and very much not intended, but makes the fight a lot more consistent. Now I will navigate the Colossus again with very specific movements. Here, it will try to attack me. I will cancel the animation by jumping onto the head, rolling to the side, and that way I can get to the sigil a little faster, because now I have to very quickly stab 4 times, otherwise the 2 cycle won't even work. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I think that's alright, so the fight can't be as devastating as it sometimes can be anymore, since I got the guaranteed 2 cycle. I jump off, since I have to prepare for a 2 cycle, jump here, and now during the cutscene I will jump onto the Colossus head, and this is where the RNG bit comes in. Now Wander, I can't control him during this cutscene, and the Colossus still moves, so Wander can fall off, the Colossus can go to the right, to the left, which is a little worse. It's already a little moment where I'm losing time, and let's see if I'm at least on the head. Nope, there we go. I couldn't do anything about it, and I lost about a minute just now, which is exactly why this fight is so horrible. Imagine you're like an hour into a run on world record pace, and then this happens. This is what happened during my current PB, and there's a lot more memes that can still happen even from here. Well, actually, never mind. During the PB I actually got the good RNG here, but the bad RNG later on. Because as we get to the second gazebo, again, sometimes the Colossus aggroes instantly, other times I have to shoot more arrows and the Colossus just turns around and leaves, which is, well, the Colossus is there to be very much annoying and very clunky to play. So hopefully I will at least get the better RNG. I will take this safely because the positioning doesn't look great. I will hide here, so maybe the Colossus will get into the right animation here. Come on. Nope. Another minute lost. Presented beautifully by Pelagia. This fight can...
Unfortunately, there isn't much RNG in this run except for this fight, and in this fight, it's just Pelagia sometimes just gonna do what she wants. She just likes to vibe sometimes, and it's really unfortunate for us.
Oh, Pelagia, what's over there? Let's look there. Right. Yeah, and...
I saw a bird.
Yeah. So this time it should be fine. Usually doesn't go... Oh, come on. Now. But now you can do it. Come on. Yes, okay. So, I played this fight at the best of my ability and no big mistakes were made, but I lost about 2 minutes there. Simply from RNG. And this is about the time save I have in this fight in my PB. So yeah, this is what makes this run infuriating, and I'm glad it's over.
You know what? Everything that you had control over, you did flawlessly, and I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
There's actually a joke in my my streaming community, because there was one day that I was trying to get Pelagia's attention, and she just wasn't cooperating. She just kept going, oh, do, I'm gonna do my own thing. And I just started saying, find me interesting, find me interesting. And suddenly, at a point where she was too far away and I couldn't actually jump onto her face, she then started charging up an attack, and I just started screaming, not interesting! And now that's just become like a meme in our community. Hey, Killer Chair, do we have any horse pets?
Yes, we do. We got a €10 donation, so that's 2 pets. The donation is from Zelcade saying, for the pets, a great run, and commentary, and the cause.
Thank you
so much, Zelcade. We really appreciate that, and so does our girl. Okay, next we are headed towards, in my opinion, one of the most beautiful fights of the game. So this next Colossus is the only other of the 2 flying Colossi. So this one is known as Phalanx, and is another one in the desert. So first we're going to go through the 17th Colossus, and then we'll get to the 13th. So with this Colossus, unlike all of the others, who in some way, whether it's they immediately are aggressive towards you or they will defend themselves and get aggressive towards you, Phalanx is a pacifist. She will never actually hit you or harm you for damage. So this, in a lot of people's opinion, just if we're going back to our, Team Eco philosophy class, our gen design philosophy class for a moment, a lot of people theorize that the reason they did that at this particular point in the game was really to solidify that to the audience, if you didn't get it before this point, that, oh, no, we're the bad guys, aren't we? And it's a beautiful big sand dragon, essentially, that towers over the rest of the desert. Now, the way that this fight goes, this is another one where one cycle is really important. So there are going to be 3 almost balloons or air sacs on the bottom of its stomach. And what Tic-Tac's going to need to do is shoot those in order to get Phalanx to lower herself so that he can jump on. Now, once that happens, he'll have to do a specific amount of stabs to each of the sigils, because if you do all of the damage to a sigil, not only does it cause her to barrel roll, so that loses you a ton of time, but on top of that, she has these flaps that sit over each of the sigils on her back. And if you take too much time, those flaps will close and make it impossible for you to do any more damage until she dives all the way back into the sand and then comes all the way back up. So it loses a ton of time. So Tic-Tac, I'm going to go ahead and let you explain the step-by-step here, since I don't know the exact one you're going to be using right now.
I'm actually going to go for the little IL strat by...
Let's do it!
Never mind. What I tried to do was line up aggro in the same way I would do in the individual level, and then if you hit the sex in a very crazy fast way, sometimes you can, with a little luck, make Phalanx lower way more than usual, which makes it a lot faster. Here the problem was that I guess aggro was slightly out of position, so it didn't work out. Not a problem, I'll hit the sax anyway and do it.
She just really wanted to hang out with the wall for a second.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that was the inputs of the positioning there, but that works. And now I can get up on the side of these flaps. By climbing here, I'm able to get on top of the Colossus. And now here applies the same principle as with Dirge. By hitting the sigils with an exact amount of stabs, it allows me to understab by enough to not trigger any of the later animations, which would make this fight timed. Did I kill this? Oh no. Oh no, okay.
There was an overstab, yep.
Now, actually, there was a discussion in the community. Can you one-cycle this the usual way? We will find out, I guess. I've never tried. This will be painful. Let's do it.
You can if you don't get a full heal.
Oh god, this doesn't look great. Okay, I reset the animation. Maybe I'll have a chance.
Oh, that's 2 barrel rolls. Oh.
Oh yeah, I have to go for the second one because I triggered the first one, otherwise I wouldn't be able to one-cycle at all. And this is an unfortunate fact that I overstabbed by just a little bit. Now, either the thing will close or I will get to the first confirmed one-cycle in hard mode without the strat. Okay, it's possible. There you go.
Oh my gosh. Okay. You know how earlier I said my heart was racing on your behalf? That was another one of those moments where every muscle in my body was clenched.
So, to summarize what just happened, if you overstab these and kill the first sigil, it becomes a nightmare, because not only do these barrel rolls happen, but there's a timer. If I'm too slow, the flaps will close and they'll have to do a 2-cycle, which loses a bunch of minutes, a ton of time. And on normal mode, we knew for sure that the 1 cycle was possible if you're very, very quick. On hard mode, I never tried, because not only is one cycle usually fairly easy, but it's insane to try and do this. But now, for the intended hard mode run, we know it's possible to one cycle, so I just proved that here.
So if I may, I'm just gonna say, now we know it's possible, but now we also know I hate it.
Yeah.
I just never want to have that kind of heart attack ever again. And really quickly, Killer Chair, do we have any pets?
Currently, no horse pets.
Got it. Okay. Everyone, we have a little bit more time to get in those horse pets. I will let you know that after the next 2 Colossi, there is going to be a particular moment where we can no longer get in horse pets. So if you want us to give more love to our wonderful girl who has been working so hard, then please make sure to get in those donations within the next few minutes, because we are coming. We're on the final 3 Colossi. And really quickly, there was a question in chat that I'm going to go into, which was, how do we know the names of the Colossi? So all of the names we've been mentioning for each of them. And the fun fact is, these aren't actually the names that the designers made. So the code names, so just the general names that the designers would use, were actually a lot more general. So they would refer to them as Minotaur ABC, Cerberus, just general names, but even then they weren't meant to be the actual names of the Colossi. They weren't supposed to be named. They would just use these so that they had some kind of language in the room to know which Colossus they were talking about. So there was someone many years ago who was part of the forums for a lot of the lore communities, who, based on a lot of Greek and Latin root languages, would actually devise his own versions of the names for each of the Colossi. And in a bunch of the Shadow of the Colossus wikis, they just became the most commonly accepted names to use. So for many years, I didn't know these games and I just had my own nicknames for them. But a lot of people in the speedrun community or in the lore community will use these names from the wiki as the generally accepted ones. And speaking of which, we are headed towards the good guard dog boy, aka Zenobia, who is the favorite Colossus that tiktak and I share. And tiktak has done a ton of work with optimizing this fight to the point where he founded a lot of the strats for this particular fight. So when it comes to Zenobia, I'm just going to say out front before the actual fight starts how much I love this Colossus. But I'm going to let tiktak explain the entire fight, since really you're the expert here.
Yep. And one of the things that you might have noticed that already happened as the first part of the fight is me switching the game FPS to 30, so it's a little bit choppier, and the reason for that is that it allows a certain glitch. And honestly, Ruby, my voice is just completely giving out on me, so I will just let you cover the rest of it, because I'm not sure if I'm able to maintain.
Oh, I'm so sorry. All right, yeah, absolutely. You please rest your voice, drink some water. If you ever want to take over at another point, just let me know, okay?
Mm-hmm. Sure thing.
Okay.
I can go into a little bit of the lore behind the strats after a fight.
Yeah, absolutely. But for now, rest your voice. That's more important. I would rather you not, cough and die during the fight. Well, I'll wait to explain the basic strats behind this fight until we actually get there. But basically, the Colossus looks like a bulldog, and he's doing the reason I call him my good guard dog boy is he's essentially in what looks like a little city, and is very, very diligently protecting this ground. So the fight that we're basically doing, the way that you would normally do it, the way the designers intended for you to fight this Colossus, is across the landscape, there are these pillars that just basically reach up all the way into the sky. And with each of those pillars, what you would normally have to do is jump from one to the other, and lure and get the aggro of Zenobia to come towards you so that he hits the pillars and knocks them over one by one. This basically makes a kind of land bridge for you so you can get to higher ground until finally you get to a platform that when Zenobia destroys it, actually falls on top of him and breaks the armor on his back. Now, that's the way that you're intended to do it, is by taking out like 10, 15, something like that of these pillars. But that's not what we're gonna do, you know? Tiktak and I are speedrunners, so we don't have time for that. So what's gonna happen instead is as soon as we hit the arena, which is just so beautiful, let's see. Okay, so as soon as Tiktak hits this fight, as you'll notice, he switched directly to the bow because that's one of the things we're going to need to use in order to get Zenobia's attention. So the moment the fight starts, he's going to skip the cinematic and book it in the opposite direction. Just get absolutely out of there. Now, you don't actually need to break this first pillar if you just make sure you're right towards the ledge there, headed towards that waterfall. You can actually get all the way past that jump without any trouble. Now, what's going to happen here is if he runs directly towards this pillar and spams the jump button at the speed of light, you can do something called the super jump, which essentially makes Wander launch all the way upwards. Well done, there it is. Makes Wander launch upwards, and he can basically climb all the way up to the top of this final pillar rather than using all of the other pillars to make the land bridge. Now, what he's going to do, just to get the RNG, so he wants to make sure that rather than Zenobia wandering off by hitting him with that extra arrow, right as the pillar is about to knock over, he gets the attention of the Colossus. And now what he's doing here is what we call the wacky jump. So Bluepoint built in a few extra bits of landscaping just to make the game prettier. And that little bit of greenery is specifically in the PS4 version. So by jumping on there during the cutscene, you can actually avoid having to run blindly all the way towards that ladder to the side. And now the armor is going to knock off of Zenobia's back. And as soon as that happens, Tiktak is going to be able to jump directly downwards and stab this thing all the way home.
Oops. Well, let's try the backup.
He's going to be able to get higher ground, and then there you go. Okay. And with the small boys, if you don't know where to stand and where to grab, you'll constantly get shaken, and it's really hard to get stabbed in. But once you know where the plants are, it's really, really easy to just stab this thing over and over and over. So the wacky jump was actually founded by Tiktak and another speedrunner in the community, Wacky Wolf AO. And then the super jump is a strat that was optimized by Tiktak. And I believe that if I'm remembering correctly, for a while, you had the world record in the IL of this category.
Yeah, and that's a funny thing about it. When Wacky found the strat, it was a complete mind blow of how simple it is and how it wasn't found earlier, because the OG didn't have those plateaus and everyone was tunnel visioning of the common strats that were already used. And a very, very impressive IL runner, Odavara, was hunting for all the ILs at the time, and I knew exactly that Zenobia would be the next one. So I actually kept the strat a secret for a little while I got a lot better time with it. And once he grabbed it, I was able to beat it right away after with the strat and revealed it and made a tutorial on it. And it's very cool of how simple it is, but how impressive it can look. If you don't explain the strat while it's done right, it's literally like Wander is teleporting directly to a plateau. And the super jump was another strat that took a while to be adopted because of how inconsistent it was, or still is. As you saw, I didn't get it right away because there's some variance involved with how often you will get it. And basically the right setup and very fast spam will allow it to happen more often, but not as consistently. And before we forget, are there any new pets coming in?
Did I hear anybody say 2 pets for the horse?
2 pets for the horse!
Because we got a €10 donation by Zelkate saying more pets for a great cause. Mental health is so important to everyone. It sure is.
And 2. There
Absolutely.
we go.
Thank you so much for that extra €10, Zelkate. We really appreciate it. And we not only gave 2 pet, but Tiktak gave some extra bonus scratches with the sword.
Yeah, because Aggro was moving away a little. It's very weird sometimes with how the hitbox aligns. But
And
yeah.
this is me checking in with you. Make sure that you drink more water. I can hear your voice getting off.
Yeah, I'll just be quiet and you can introduce the next foe.
Absolutely, I got you. So this is actually one of the longer runs. So before we actually get there, Killer Chair, if there are any more announcements about BSG or anything else, this is a perfect time to get those in before we get into the explanation of the fight.
Alrighty, well, in that case, I would like to remind people of the fact that we have a YouTube channel. So if you missed any of the runs for this event or any of the other BSG events that have been happening, go over to youtube.com/BSG Marathon and, give that a good old sub. And yeah, of course, for those who've never heard of it, there is a thing in existence somewhere in the ether called Prime Gaming that allows you to have a free monthly sub. And if you dump that here, then that means you get to support both BSG and ESA, and ain't that just wonderful?
I definitely would agree with that. And actually, speaking of the YouTube channel, just a really fun fact. So Tic-Tac and I are basically doing a role reversal of what we did in BSG 5. So I actually ran in BSG 5, and Tic-Tac was my commentator. So as soon as he asked me to commentate for him, I was happy to do it. So how the turntables.
And I also was a host then, so we got the same gang back together.
I know, it's fantastic. As soon as I saw you in as the host, Killer Chair, that's why I was so excited earlier. Just, oh my gosh, the gang's back together.
Very good.
All right, so the next Colossus that we are getting into the arena of is Argus. So with this particular Colossus fight, Argus is what I refer to as the champion. Now, the difference between this fight, well, some of the others, you can still see some of the intended strats that the designers wanted you to use in the design of the game. You can still see some of those incorporated. Let me just say the speedrun strats for this particular Colossus make the fight into a completely different beast. So rather than using all of the architecture, breaking the bridge and climbing up different areas, knocking the sword out of his hand that he has, you would have to do every single one of these things in order to hit the sigil on his head, on his chest, because we have an extra sigil on this Colossus since it's hard mode, and the sigil in his hand. With hard mode, what's actually going to be happening instead is not only is he going to have to stab the hand while he is still holding the sword by doing a really specific jump and grab, and I'll get into exactly that timing when we get there. But there's also a side jump, much like with Bosseron earlier, where if you side jump at the right time, you can actually get yourself to launch directly to the top of his head. So let me do this piece by piece. If you blink, you miss it. So he's gonna really quickly pop to the right here to make sure that that leg stomps. Then by grabbing the knee and going all the way up, he's going to basically do a jump where he pretends like he's gonna jump past the hand, and then he uses what we affectionately refer to as magnet hands. So if Wander is just close enough to a ledge to grab it, but not quite, the game will say, well, you're close enough, and let you just magnetize into it. So by doing that, he was able to grab onto the fur, even though he still had the sword in his hand. Now, by standing here on the ground, he's able to get Argus to do that stomp one more time, and by landing here and doing 2 jumps, this is where he's going to do that side jump to land directly on the top of his head. There it is, beautiful. Now he's gonna do a few stabs to the head sigil, and this one is another one of the Colossi, like I said earlier, that has an extra sigil on his chest. So as soon as he's done with this head sigil, he's gonna have to crawl directly to the chest. And this, unlike a lot of the other sigils where there's actually a lot more leeway as far as where you stab, is one of the most narrow sigil hitboxes. And on top of that, with all of Argus's movements, you get constantly shaken here. There's no way to really get a plant. So I'm gonna keep my fingers crossed, Tic-Tac, this goes smoothly and fast.
Yeah, this is totally fine. I was thinking about doing the slash here, but that's a bit dangerous.
Nice, well done. Okay, See, this is the part that always gives me a heart attack, and again, you handle it just like it's not even a thing.
Yeah, as soon as you get the first step there, in the first initial moment, it's fairly easy to anticipate the cycles if you're used to it. It's definitely one of the Colossi where if you're not used to it, it can be an absolute pain on hard mode because the shaking is ridiculous. It's similar to like Guy's arm or Barba's hand. Those are sigils that are very different from what you would get in normal mode.
Yep. And really quickly, I'm going to say here, rather than asking immediately for pets, so we actually only have a few more minutes to get pets in. So this is one of the longest bits of horseback riding, but eventually we are going to hit a gate that TikTak is going to go through. Now, as soon as he gets through that gate, pretty closely after that, there's going to be a point where we can no longer give Agro pet. For anyone who may be triggered by animals dying, who regularly check doesthedogdie.com, don't want to give spoilers or anything. I promise you it will appear as though something happens. You know, Agro decides to take a swim. I can reassure you she does not die. I will reassure you of that. But if you want to get in those donations, now is the time to do it. And I will ask Killer Chair for those donations at the very last second that we can get in those pets. So please, if you have anything that you want to reward our girl with, and anything that you want to donate to this incredible cause, please, now is the time to do it. And we are headed towards the final Colossus, number 16, Malice. Very, very appropriately named. So this Colossus is gonna be a extremely tall, towering figure who shoots fire-seeking missiles. And normally, the intended way that you would beat this fight is by using a series of bunkers and tunnels and barriers to dodge the fire-seeking missiles and get past them. But that version of the fight usually takes between like 3 and 7 minutes. 3 minutes on like the intended speedrun side of things, but more when it takes an additional that amount of time. You know what I mean? Words are hard. But it's an extremely difficult fight. But there's a particular path we're going to be taking, and we'll explain it once we actually get to the fight. But it's very particular and specific, and so cool to see. All right, let's see. So once TikTak gets down here, is there anything else you'd like to say before you actually pass through the gate and we get those last pets in, TikTak?
Well, I guess we can go into the whole getting TikTaked and Malice specifically later, so not really.
Oh, right. Okay, yeah, I'll explain what getting TikTak is.
Yeah,
once,
you're very good at it, and it's always very appropriate just in case Wander flies into the stratosphere that happened on a marathon.
We say it with love. We say it with love. All right, so we're about to go through the gate. So, Killer Chair, are there any final pets for our girl?
What looks of it, no final pets.
I'm so sad.
Well, time for Agro to take a swim, I suppose.
I'm gonna give you a quick salute from over here instead, since I have no control over the pet situation. Alright, so Agro is gonna come up this staircase and go over a totally stable bridge. It doesn't look scary at all, right? Like, not in the least.
Oof.
It's fine. It's a comfy bridge for a comfy run. Wait, oh god, oh god, oh god, wait, no, wait, no, why? So in case you couldn't tell, Agro has decided to go swimming, And
yeah. Anyway,
unfortunately,
let's move on.
the pet the horse incentive has closed. So getting tic-tacked. So there, you know how on Speedrun.com there's usually a glossary of terms that kind of helps you understand the terminology used in the community for certain speedrun strats or certain glitches that can happen. So as you can see here, our wonderful Tic Tac has a term named after him. But the reason for this is there have been many runs that he has done that have been on world record pace or PB pace, where he's just been on absolute god level for this game. But Malice has so much variance to him that, and the arena sometimes likes to troll you, that we call getting tic-tacked when you are on the final Colossus and a run dies because Malice goes wrong in one of the weirdest ways possible. So, for example, there was one time that he went to do a roll, got hit by a fire-seeking missile, hit a barrier, and then Wander got permanently stun-locked. Just completely soft-locked. There was no way to move him. So we're going to hope and pray that we don't get a tic-tac here. Fingers crossed. So what's going to happen is by running on a particular path up to this Colossus, you can actually avoid the heat-seeking missiles. It's very specific, but as soon as you roll up here, you can actually avoid every single one of his hits. Now, by being on this upper tier rather than down with the barriers like you normally would be, it basically makes Malice think, oh, well, you should be on this lower level, so he shoots just a little bit lower than you actually are. So now he can roll up and do something basically by completely dodging the tunnels, and already is underneath the Colossus within less than a minute.
I might have been hit. Yep. What happened there is I got tic-tacked. I went to do the safest double roll ever, but Wander didn't do it. So that's why we have trouble here. Oh god, not again! Oh god. Oh my lord. Oh my... no! Not like this. This time for sure. There we go. Okay. Well, you just saw Tic Tac live in action. Whatever that was, that never happened to me.
So he tried to double roll for what we call the pitless strat, where you skip the final pit or bunker and instead do a double roll to get under the Colossus. But for that final double roll, he just decided he wanted to pull out his sword. Wander wanted to show off and flex a little bit, and we get it. You have a very pointy sword. It has killed many colossi. We are speed running here. You don't need to flex. It's fine. We get it. You're strong. So, moving on. Wander is going to be jumping up here. And now, rather than having to hit a million different weak spots on the back and hand and everything else, by shooting an arrow from all the way down here onto his shoulder sigil, or his shoulder weak spot, for some reason, all of the arrows are going through this weird spot that just goes through the Colossus. But by hitting it, which he just did, it actually gets him to lower his hand just enough so you can get directly there rather than having to climb all the way up the back of the Colossus. Then as Malice raises his arm just a little bit, you can use that physics to your advantage by basically riding that incline, and now he's going to be able to hit a plant. And as long as he maintains this, now this plant you have to maintain not just with positioning but with very specific timing in the stabs, otherwise you will get shaken out. But as long as he sticks with this, we're going to knock on wood and keep our fingers crossed here, he'll be able to stab this all the way home, so good luck.
Thank you. I think at this point I should be fine, though that was very interesting, fight-wise.
Listen, I didn't want to say it would be fine because you have got tic-tac.
Yeah, I know, it's
earlier.
Fine. It's fine,
oh, okay.
I swear.
Okay, there we go, good.
I'm in control this time.
And that is the 16th Colossus. Now, this isn't time yet, so just heads up there. Time will not be for a little bit, and I'm going to let Tic-Tac call that once it comes up. But Tic-Tac, is there anyone you want to shout out or anything you want to say now that we're in like the final minute or two of this run?
Well, If you're interested by this game, definitely join the community Discord. That's the #1 place to not only learn about the runs, but also the community events we do and all the fun stuff. I would do a lot more shout-outs, well, my Twitch, YouTube, you know the drill, but honestly my voice is giving out, so Ruby, feel free to do the shout-outs, and definitely make sure to follow Ruby as well. She's amazing at what she does and has a very entertaining Twitch stream.
Thank you so much. Well, absolutely. TikTok has done a lot of incredible work with not just helping organize races and big events that we do in this community. You better, Vape Nation. I know you're not going to skip that.
Almost forgot. I'm just completely
how
out of
dare
it.
you? Sorry. So shooting fire out of Dorman's mouth while we are Dorman for a moment is a tradition in this community that we call Vape Nation. So I had to quickly remind him. But TikTok has done a lot of work with this community, not just helping with recruiting people and getting them into speedrunning it, but also with organizing community events like big races where a bunch of us will get together and race the game just to see how good our times can be. We've all really helped motivate and push each other to be better speedrunners of it. But on top of that, he also has a YouTube channel and speedruns not only this, but also sometimes Pokemon Emerald. And I don't know if you're looking into any of the other Pokemon games, but please feel free to check TikTok out. We hope that his voice gets better soon. Otherwise, I am a variety streamer and a speedrunner of this game, and time's going to be coming up real soon here, so I'll let you call it.
And time.
Amazing. Well done. Okay, so I'm catching up with the stream here really quick. All right, TikTok, it looks like that was a 1:34:37.
Amazing stuff.
No, 38. Yeah, that's an incredible time. Well done. Yeah, if you want to check us out, so again, I'm a variety streamer and a speedrunner, as well as a professional actor. So during pandemic, when theaters have been closed, I've actually recently transitioned into being a full-time streamer. So if you're interested, please feel free to check out my channel. And otherwise, check out TikTok and his incredible speedruns. He's done a lot of work for this game. And if you're interested in speedrunning this game, we have a wonderful and inclusive community of speedrunners of all 3 of the Team Eco games, people who are passionate about the artistry and the storytelling, so please feel free to come and join us. But GG's TikTok, really well done work.
Thank you so much, and thank you to BSG for hosting this run.
Yes, thank you so much for that run. Very well done, of course. Very well done on the commentary as well. Everybody stay tuned, we got plenty more great runs coming up. Next up we have Osmorn with Superliminal, so that's gonna be a great time.